All right. Well, one of the biggest things with that is before we get to boosting, we're going to go ahead and talk just a few best practices, and that should help us because the best posts to boost are the ones that are naturally and organically already performing well in social media. So Marianne already mentioned that we have these 3 focus goals, and the first one's people. And let's be honest, where are the people? The people are on social. And specifically tonight, we're going to talk about Facebook and some strategies with that. But I'll be honest, these things that I'm going to talk about here in the next couple minutes are tools and techniques that could work on any of your social media platforms if you guys are on Instagram as well, or even Twitter. So social is where people live. And, if you line up the countries of the world, Facebook will be the 3rd largest country. And so we want to capture and catch people where they already are. One of the things I would challenge you to think about as you do this is remember that really your Relay for Life event is like a micro version of the American Cancer Society in your local community. So in a certain way, you're kind of the chief marketing officer or the chief information officer. And so as you make these decisions, you're really getting to control how your community sees and perceives what's happening related to Relay for Life and the American Cancer Society's messaging in your local community. And that gets coupled with what's already happening, as Marianne said, nationwide. And it's, initially it's a free tool, but because so many people, quote, live there and exist there and are doing business there, really only 1% to 2% of your messages are getting seen. So we want to make those count. And then we're going to second half talk about how to get those seen even more. A few best practices is what we're going to cover next, but I do have 3 quick things before we switch slides. And that is, if you have not or didn't get a chance to participate in our 2019 online and social media trainings that we offered, those are on Relay Connect, and throughout the evening, we'll be sharing links in chat that we're referring to. I would suggest go back, and there are lengthy trainings. The whole thing is just about some creative ways to promote in your community or creative ways to use social in your community, and review those fully. And then that way you can just take advantage of that without us going super deep into that tonight. Also, we're building our 2020 plans. If you have ideas, even as we're going tonight and talk about things, just throw those in here. And I see that you guys are already doing what my third thing was, which is to include your email address and the name of your event so we can connect those and be able to share this information with you, as well as keep you updated on the progress of using and these techniques and tips that we're talking about. And then as you guys go through, we're going to learn some best practices as you guys are boosting posts that we can share with each other, things that we're learning, or even as Facebook changes things like they sometimes do. So let's go to the next slide, and let's just do a couple best practices. Well, maybe more than a couple. Really, for so many people, it's like, what's the secret to make this work? And I've got the secret for you. Okay, here's the secret of how Facebook works. And I'm not Mark Zuckerberg, and you don't have to pay me a ton of money. But the more your content gets interaction, the more your followers and other people are going to see it. And the more you personally, as an individual on Facebook, interact with content, the more you're going to see of that same kind of content. So what I'm saying is, if you're creating really compelling content, consistently putting it in front of folks, and it's relevant to them, they're going to interact with it, and therefore they're going to see it more often. So one of the things Carol's going to talk about is great posts to boost are posts that are already organically doing great. And one of the ways they organically do great is if it's things that are out there that people want to interact with, whether that's a great image, a funny video, a link that's got great information and people want to keep sharing it. So just keeping that in mind, that's really the secret to Facebook is getting that content in front of people is by putting out more of what they like. And sometimes you'll have folks say, well, I never see the stuff you guys put out. Maybe encourage them to interact with the content on your page. And that will make it more often likely to show up in their feed without them having to dig for it. If they can do that on maybe 5 to 10 posts consistently, then they'll see all of that content in the future. There's really no off season with social media. And what I mean with that is where we may live in an event season space, where we lead everything up to the relay event, and then we like to take a little bit of a break. Much like cancer, social media doesn't take a holiday. And so remember that as you're planning your content calendar. Then when you kind of come off of that, if you're not consistently communicating to your followers, Facebook notices that, and you have to, in essence, kind of regain that following. So just create yourself a pattern of consistent posting where you can put that information back in front of people, and you're staying constant, and therefore your followers have things to consistently be interacting with. Know your audience. And I would say for Digital Land, we kind of call this like a persona or an avatar. I think for most of our relay events, we have an audience that would fall into 4 categories. And that's core, which are people like you guys that bleed purple and are making everything happen. Those are people who probably see every one of your posts and interact with them, and get that. Another group that you probably are consistently connecting with is what I would call the connected. They're your team captains, new ELT members, maybe folks who I might just say they've drank the Kool-Aid, they get what you're talking about, they may not be all the way on the inside planning everything. Those 2 people you're probably consistently capturing and connecting with. Then there's 2 more, and one I would call curious. There's a people who in your community have kind of heard something's going on, or might have just heard the name of the event, or are curious what's going on with this purple stuff they see in the newspaper around town. They're investigating you. And then there's a group I would call the community. These last 2 groups are who we're going to talk about trying to use boosting and sponsored ads to connect with, because they're just not getting captured in the everyday organic posting things that we're doing. All right. Remember that you have different messages. So, just as your audience is out there, know who those folks are, and there's different things that they're wanting to hear to take the next step of action to connect with you. One really big thing you'll see right there, the 4th dot, is, do people even know when they land on your page how to get your information? Carol's put an example on the slide, and I love this best practice, to take your cover photo of your page and throw it into maybe Canva or some other digital designing tool, and put your event name and your date right there on the picture. And then folks don't have to worry about scrolling past the last 10 posts you've made, or looking at your about page or something. You want it to be really easy for them to know how to connect with you and how to take a next action just by what's there at the about and at the top part of your information. Another way to get folks to see your stuff and to interact with it is they can update the way that they receive that information, and it's just changing a notification setting that is on their page right under your cover image, and they can change to see all, or however they want to get that information. And I would suggest that's something you could even do at an ELT meeting or at a team captain meeting. And once they've taken that step, then the people on their team, they can train. Because again, you want to get this information in front of them. And the more people who see it organically, the easier it is to boost and get a greater impact with your dollars that you're going to invest into this. Remember that you're wanting to mix up the messages that you're putting in front of people. So you don't want everything to be about one topic. And it feels sometimes like certain times of the year in the cycle of all this, we are just like, come to the event, come to the event, come to the event. Well, you want to mix those recruitment, logistic, fundraising, and mission messages. And again, those different audiences interact with that. But even maybe the way you say it is going to catch somebody's attention, or the time of day. And one of those training that I mentioned is an analytics insights that tells you great things about the time of day that your audience is most active, and it helps you just be better at how you're using your fundraising dollar. Engage with your folks. You're a real human behind this page. You guys work really hard and are putting a lot of personal touches in all of the things that you're doing. But when you ask a question or maybe put out something for a fun idea, respond to those comments, or make sure you're following up to your messenger messages that come in, and just really make it very human and interact with your folks. Again, that's just one of those things that increases engagement when they know that human factor's there and they can interact with someone. One thing, and I don't know that it's actually on here, so I want to make sure I say it, is as you're mixing up those messages, really, really, really make sure to always include a link to the thing you want someone to do. So Marianne mentioned when they see a sponsored post, it would take them all the way in to the page where they would register for your specific event. But you can even control some of that happening without a sponsored ad. And that is by making sure when you're doing your captions or you're putting your call to action in there, that you put the actual link that you would want someone to go directly to versus just a link to your page and then say, oh, once you get there, click on the donate button, or once you get there, click on the Luminaria button, and they'll be able to actually take the step that you want them to do, because most people are coming to your messages and captions and newsfeed on their mobile phone. So you got to remember, they just want to do one click to get exactly where they're going to go. And as you're doing your images and all of that, remember, is this mobile friendly? And does it look like something they can consume pretty easy? Because remember, everybody's just doing that quick scroll with their finger versus just always looking at things on the desktop. So it's super important for you to do that. The last thing I would just say as we go into this is tell stories. You want to create posts that are engaging, and you know, details are not just the thing that make people take action. It's something as simple as kind of like with Angela and I were having this comment in chat a while ago where, you know, I have a personal story and connection to the American Cancer Society. They funded the research that found the protocol that was the treatment I took. And those are things that exist in your hometown and your community as well, whether it's someone who got a ride to treatment, who got to stay at a Hope Lodge, who find community in the Relay for Life community of your town, who found a way to give back as a caregiver for something that they went through. Those are stories that exist at your meetings, they exist at your bank, they exist at your survivor dinners. Capture that stuff and just ask your team captains, why do they do this? Whether that's a kid that's leading a youth team, or you know, a senior adult that might be leading a church team or a survivor team or a family team. But tell stories, and don't be afraid to do simple things like capturing a video with your cell phone. I like to say it that your people like the information the same way you do, because that you guys live in a hometown. So don't be afraid that you don't have a big professional 4D camera and you can't do all of these things. Do it your way. Do it a way that's going to resonate with the people who are your audience and who live in your hometown. And those are the people you're trying to grow your event with. Those are the people who your fundraisers are connecting with and your mission is making a difference for. So just don't be afraid to, I like, you know, as I say with some of these, like Pirates After Your Career, Walking the Plank, or the Love Baskets you're doing in your hometown. Those are things that really resonate with the people in your community. And those are the kind of posts that get lots of engagement and interaction. So Carol mentioned it a little bit in the chat over here, and I'm going to let her kind of explain it. But one of the things you really need to do, if you've not done so already, is add, it's the last bullet point there, SO region. So it's like first name SO, last name region, as an admin on your accounts. And one of those things is it just lets us, as we have turnover in volunteers or staff, be able to come on the backside and support you. And as Carol's talking and training us on boosting, it's one of the things she can on her side be able to access and help you see behind the scenes. But make sure you add that SO region to your admins. And we were talking a minute ago that they're working with Facebook directly to do that. But if you've not done that already, maybe even while we're on the call tonight, you can share screens and do that to take care of that, so they have access to help you. So Carol, why don't you jump in and talk to us about high performing posts and boosting?
Great. Well, and thanks for mentioning so many points that are great segues to the next section. That SO region, it's gone through a couple of iterations. It's a whole technical thing, nothing for you to worry about. But if you punch in, or if you type in Megan Jolowick and find the South region logo, that's the one. So, but also, I really like what you were saying about, oh, Carol, let's advance. I cannot advance. There we go. Some great points, Keisha. I never thought of the audience in the categories of core, connected, curious, and community, but you are so spot on, and we are going to talk tonight about the curious and the community. because your Facebook page has the opportunity to recruit, retain, recognize, and do logistics. And honestly, I think we're all really good about the logistics. And I think the more that we get into relay season, we become mired into the details, and you're really focused on what's coming up and who do we need to talk to and what's the deadline for something else. And so that's really critical information, but we really don't want to miss the opportunity to invite new people to the relay family. So we're going to go back to the basics, because before we want to boost, we want to make sure we're doing all the right things. So for a high performing post that will be boost worthy, there's a couple of really fundamental items. One, it should have a relevant video or images. Are they recognizable to the people in the community? Is it meaningful to them? Is it interesting or personal? Those are some things to think about when you put one up there. I have seen so many posts that don't have a link at all, and oh my goodness, you might be doing yourself such a disservice. But put a link to your website. And if you're putting a recruitment post up there, the link should be to the recruitment or the registration page. If you're wanting to fundraise for luminarias like this one did, you know, they put their main page, but they could have put the link right to the luminaria section. If you want someone to donate, just like for your own personal page, when you fundraise, you send your donation, the link to your donation page. So just make sure that you're putting the link in there that's meaningful to your message, and it leads them right where you want them to go.
Hey, Carol, can I say something I meant to say when I said that earlier and I forgot about to you just did this? If you're wanting to include an image or video and a link as part of your post, order matters. And so one thing, it's really frustrating if you don't do it this way because it takes a quick minute to figure it out, but add your pictures first and then add the URL that you want in your caption if you're not just using a link as your action. So like with this, where they were putting the luminaria, to get both to happen, they needed to put the pictures first and then go back at the top and add that URL. And it's just a frustrating step if folks don't know that.
It is. It is. Otherwise, your link will override your photo area. So good point. Thanks. So about the story, here's the storytelling, compelling message with a call to action. This is where you have the opportunity to talk about what is Relay for Life, why should someone join your Relay for Life? It's the whole why thing. And in order to make your post high performing means it's reaching a lot of people and it's getting engagements. Now, this is a pretty awesome set of numbers. It doesn't happen everywhere, and I wouldn't worry about it, but I just had to pick it out because it's noteworthy at best. But when you post something for your Facebook page, your ELT should be liking and sharing all of them, because that's what's going to drive up your engagement. That's what's going to drive up your reach. That's what's going to tell that Facebook algorithm that your post is worthy. I also put on here my note to myself, find team leaders who will do the same thing. These are your core and your connected people to your event. Make sure that they're liking and sharing everything that you post so that you give it more reach. And then ask your friends and families to do the same thing. It's like planting the seed and letting it grow, but you have to do that. Again, you work really, really hard on your social media. Make sure it's going to work hard for you too. So what I've done is I've pulled out, I'm kind of zeroing in on this I'm kind of zeroing in on everything except for the images and the video, because you know what's going to work best in your community. But I want to show you some examples of linking to your website and having a compelling message. I pulled these from several Relay posts, and some of them you're going to get a copy of this. If you can use them as is, that's terrific, but making them your own and making them fit your community is really what you want to do. My favorite is this first one here, and it's a quote from a relayer. Now, I changed a few words and some things so that, I protected of her anonymity a bit, but if This is an amazing story about why someone should join your relay. When you start talking about a video or a photo of this woman would be great. A video telling her story would be off the charts. So make sure you have a compelling message. And this time you're talking to the people who haven't yet come on board. They're not yet part of your family. They're the part of the community. They may or may not know something about Relay, but you're telling them more and you're inviting them in. And then put the date and then also insert the website URL. And so I have that on all of these, and you'll be able to see that once I share this deck with you after the call. Yeah, I don't really have anything else I want to say to that, except for this is your opportunity to introduce Relay for Life and why. There's a lot of times people say, oh, you just need to come and relay, but there's no connection to the American Cancer Society or the mission, and that's the why. So make sure you tell that story too. Here's one. This is about, I again pulled these from several relay samples. This call to action is fundraising or donating. My recommendation is that we start focusing on the registering, the recruitment part of it, because you need to build up your followers and your audience. And then once you get them on board, you can start talking to them about other things that they can do once they're on the page and following and getting your messages. But again, you'll get this later on. But the link here, insert to the website URL. If this one here, link to the Facebook on your dashboard, we'll be talking about that in a few minutes too. Here's just donate. This would be insert the website URL for the donate page. Again, making it really easy for them to follow you. Once you have that post that talks about Relay for Life and why people should join you and how they're benefiting the American Cancer Society and the fight against cancer, watch the performance and watch the reach numbers and your engagement numbers, because when they start coming up, it's boost worthy. How many should that be? Well, here's a rule of thumb. You're going to know better than others. If you have 1,000 followers, you want to reach at least 10% of them. So that's 100. That's not a lot of people. But if it says 14, don't, because I promise you that if there's 0 reach and 0 engagement, you can put money behind it, but it's still 0. You're not going to get your money's worth at all. But this is your opportunity to, when you boost, to reach more people. Boosting is like an ad. It's just a different way of setting it up, and it's using your content. It's custom to you. You want to make sure that it sends people back to your URL. Here's some don't boosts. Don't boost a fundraiser down the street at the car wash, even if it's got great reach and engagement numbers, because you're going to be sending people to that car wash. You want them to go to your URL. You want them to go to your registration page. Don't post about bank night. You might get a lot of people talking about bank night, but don't boost a bank night. That's not going to help drive up your numbers for your event. I'm just trying to think. Oh, if you have a post that you forgot to put your link in, if it's performing well, I would go in and click on the ellipsis, edit it, add your link, and then boost. Because you really want your link there, because otherwise this is putting money into something that's just not going to pay you back. Timing is important. Today is the end of the national recruitment challenge, but it's still incredibly timely. And we put the link to the Relay Challenge toolkit in the chat box because it's got awesome assets and great recommendations. I encourage you to take a look at it. But my recommendation is you need to start building your posts now so that you can boost them next week, the week after, right up until 30 days prior to your event. That's when your recruitment, it's the same recruitment period. So this is the key time to start building your post, watching them grow, watching them get traction, and then go ahead and boost. So are there any questions? I see some people going into the chat box, but I'm going to stop real quick, like Keisha, and ask you, is there anything in the chat box that I need to address?
Yeah, one quick question was people reached and what that means versus engagement and what that means. What do those two
Good
words
point.
mean?
People reach is the number of people that this post was served up to. Now, they might not be your followers. Some of them probably are, but they might not be your followers. If Keisha posted something and I saw it and I shared it with my friends, a lot of my friends are now adding to this reach, and that number is helpful. Engagements are the people who take actions. They like, comment, or share. That when you get engagements, that means your content is resonating with your audience. So it's an excellent sign, and it's a great question. Let's talk, I attached, or I put a link in there about the boosting process, but I'm also going to take you on a quick tour of a boost. I'm going to find it. There we go. Can you see my screen with
Yes.
the Relay for Life of Terrebonne Parish?
Yes.
So you saw this image a little earlier. Let me see if I can't get this to center here. Okay, so you can boost in a couple of ways. You can go to your insights, which it's not very well, I know that's hard to see, but your insights keeps a record of everything, of all your posts and how they're performing. You can go in there and boost from there. Or say you post something tomorrow is Tuesday, on Thursday you see it's really starting to gain traction, you can go right from your timeline down here and click boost. And this will follow the tip sheet that I shared with you earlier. It will launch this page, and the first thing you see is your ad may not run. You can disregard it for the most part, but what I will tell you is pictures, videos, those will all pass through relatively quickly. If you have a flyer, it will probably be rejected because Facebook doesn't like a lot of words. These pass through pretty good because they are luminarias and they're different. But don't boost a flyer. It's not personal. It doesn't really tell a story, and it's not going to get you a good return on your investment. A photo is better. The first thing you're going to want to do is come down here, and under audience, you're going to click on edit. When I built this out the first time, it tripped the state of Louisiana for the location. And this event is in Terrebonne Parish, so we had to get rid of Louisiana. And what I did is typed in Terrebonne Parish here. And I won't type it because I can't get at it right this second, but I typed it right in here, and it came up in the drop-down menu, and I selected it. Now, and you know this better than someone else, if there's another parish or a county or a collection of zip codes or smaller cities that need to be included in this, all you do is type them in this add location and click them from the drop-down menu. Caution is that you don't want to send this out to people who are part of another neighboring relay. So be really, really careful when you do your geography. Gender, ages, I would leave all that the same. That's a pretty good default. I wouldn't change any of this down here. I would just change your geography to make sure it matches where you want it to be, and then hit save. That will take you back to this page. I'm going to scroll down now to duration and budget. For the purposes of this campaign or initiative or project, we're recommending $30 to $50. Now, again, if you're putting that behind a really good performing post that has all those elements, this will put you in front of, this one here says between 1,500 and 4,300 more people per day. Imagine if a fraction of them joined your relay. That's what you want to do. So if you put in $50, you can't go less than 4 days. It won't let you do it. So you put it back to 4. If you put 30 in here, you can probably go 3 days. And you pick the day you want it to end. So if you're running this ad today, the 31st is going to be 4 days away. If I change this to 5 days, it's going to trip to February 1. Just make sure it says what you want it to say. And you also see down here when I change those numbers, how much you'll be spending each day. It's pretty simple. Though I will tell you, the first time I did it, I was a little nervous. And so if you feel a little nervous, you're among good company. And then when you get down here, whoever's setting up this boost. So if I set up the boost for you, it comes off my credit card because it's my account. If Keisha sets up a boost for you, her credit card's going to show up down there. So before you set up the boost process, talk to your ELT, talk to your, should be a staff partner agreement. Who's going to fund this? Is it a staff person that's going to be reimbursed by the relay? Is it the relay, one of the event leads for the relay who's then going to be reimbursed by the relay? Or is it someone involved with the event that wants to donate this money to the relay? Those kinds of things you can figure out, offline, but just know that whoever goes through this process of boosting will be charged. And my last recommendation is scroll up and scroll down and make sure everything says what you want it to say, because when you hit boost, you are charged. And I'm going to cancel because Megan will not like that I spend her money. How's that? I'm going to try to get back to my, here we go. Questions? That boosting tip sheet that we're going to provide to you walks through exactly step by step. And my goal was to make it foolproof for you because I don't want it to slow you down and I don't want it to scare you.
Yeah, one question had come through about whether they do their personal card, or I think this is a staff person that was asking. So yeah, the volunteers will need to work with their staff partners to understand, and their ELT to understand who is doing the payment, whether an individual is doing it and getting reimbursed from the event, and that's how it's coming out as an expense, or working with their staff partner. So yes, if you're a staff and hearing this, then you would want to use your ACS credit card and be able to charge that to the events as you line out your expenses.
Does that make sense, Marianne? I know you're on mute. Okay, good deal. Great. Okay. I'm going to move on, and we've now put the boosting part aside. Now we're going to talk about these 5 relays that were selected to do some bigger investments. They were selected, they agreed they want to make an investment in their event, and we're going to help them. And in this category, or in this area, I'm going to generate the ads. And what I've done is I've reached out to a few of you already to make sure I've got access to your accounts. What I absolutely need from you by the end of the month are 3 to 5 color photos because they're going to make up the body of the ad. I might use 1, I might use 2, I might use 3, but it's going to be the best ones. I kind of quickly put this one together just because I thought it was cute. They already announced what their theme was for next year, and it's Pirates of the Caribbean. Well, hey, I had to have fun with that. In an ad, this picture might be a little small, but I think it was worthwhile anyway. And you can see on here that I will build this ad. It will come from your relay. It will specifically speak to your relay. It will link to your relay. And it'll drive everybody to your registration page. And that's the benefit for putting in a more substantial investment into the program. So by the 31st, I need color photos. I also need, I need to know what your geography is. And who do I have to give a shout out to? I believe it's Caitlin Rogers and the Relay for Life of Kaufman. She's already provided me her entire geography breakdown, and it consists of smaller communities and zip codes, and that's perfect because I can enter each zip code in and it'll generate the territory that the ads will go to. And it'll be the same thing for you when you do your boosting too. When you send me your photos, please make sure that they're easily recognized by your community, because just like Keisha said, we're talking to your curious and your community. So these are people who, you know, like, oh, I know who that person is, or oh, I've been to that high school on that track. Or you see someone carrying the Survivor banner and, oh, that's so-and-so who's a member of our church or whatever. Make it easily recognizable so that you capture their attention. Questions?
Just to keep clarification that while boosting and ads are similar, they're just a little bit different. And these 5, the thing that's special about them is they've chosen to jump in and do this together. So frankly, ads are something other people can do down the road, but we just want to make sure it kind of rolls together, and so don't want other people to be confused.
Yeah, and the ads are a much bigger investment. When we talk about boosting for $50, you know, that's still a substantial investment. We aren't going to discount that at all. But when we do an ad, we're talking about several $100s, $1,000. Some people are going to go as high as $1,500, and it will run over the course of 10 to 14 days. So, and it's powerful. It's you're putting more money into it, and the goal is to get more out of it. Now, what I want to do is watch all the boosted posts and the investment and compare them to the ads and find out which ones work better, maybe why. If we can come up with that kind of metrics and data from the comparisons, that's going to be a win for all of us.
I will, while we're on this slide, offer something that I was going to offer for wrap up, but I think it's really important here. As you guys are looking, you know, one of the great things I mentioned earlier about Marianne is she is creative and often pushes us to try new things and be strategic in the way we expand our impact in our communities. And I think it's a privilege, and it's pretty cool that you guys get to be part of an event that we're trying some new things and learning as we expand that. So one of the reasons we wanted your email was we could help, you know, share what we're learning. We won't kill you with the nerd facts that Carol and I love, but we'll share the strategies and the concepts that come out of that. But one of the things you guys might consider as you're looking at how this impacts your event expenses, and we've been for the last year talking to online and social chairs nationwide about this, but partner with your sponsor chair, and maybe one of the levels that you include on your sponsorship is one opportunity for a social sponsor, and that as you're building your budget for the year, you know how much you want to spend, and so keep that amount in alignment with your other sponsorship levels. They're not getting special recognition on your pictures or anything here, but as you build your budget, you're able to assign that in essence income for their sponsorship to the expense of your social promotion, and there may be somebody in your community that uniquely resonates with, to help recruit that. So that's one strategy as you're working with your local event to kind of come alongside this. But you guys are at a level that you're, like I said, that micro event, this is marketing dollars. It's just like you would run an ad in your newspaper or buy a big banner to go across the street in your downtown square, is to consider this another marketing aspect for your community that really can target and communicate to people right where they are in a way that a lot of that other stuff is just maybe catching someone on the sidewalk. So if you start kind of training yourself to think about it like that, but maybe get that sponsorship, social sponsor is one way to help you offset some of this if it feels very new and different.
And that leads us into the next slide, and I'll let you wrap it up, Keisha.
Okay, cool. Well, timing is important. And so by timing, yes, both when you put a post out, but for this, it's the nerves, as Carol said, of actually hitting boost for the first time. So our challenge to you is to take what we've talked about tonight and that tip sheet and pull together your very first boosted post. So be thinking now at the beginning of the week what you want to put out so it gets a little bit of that organic engagement, so you can actually do the boost on it to get it further and make that happen this week. It'll just help you kind of calm the nerves and make sure that you did it right, and that you get it out in front of people and just say you did it. But monitor the performance as that goes. Monitor the performance and decide and determine if it's boost worthy. And if you are unsure or just want a little bit more help with that, Carol is here. And Carol, will you make sure that your email's in the chat so that everybody knows how to connect with you with that? But big things, again, remember to put that compelling image or video in there. Provide the appropriate link directly to the place that you want to them to take action, so that there's no question when they're on their phone or in front of their computer what they need to do, that new person for recruitment and expanding your impact in your local community. Add SO region. We've talked about that a couple times. It's just going to help you have some backup. Also, long term, it helps us be able to connect with your event. Put your email address in the box down there if you haven't. And then some links are on the screen, and we'll post them in the chat box as we do this. But the American Cancer Society has provided some amazing tools. You don't have to just say, I have to just go do this, what I do. Southregion.org is going to have some great tips as part of our new More Facebook, More Funds campaign that's about to roll out on the 1st. And then, as we mentioned earlier, the RFL registration challenge that's going on right now has some really, really great social tools. We call it assets included, but that ends today. So you may want to download that in case it has an expiration date on those resources and goes away. Carol's going to send a tip sheet. It's already out on Brand Toolkit. The social media toolkit is out there. And then, as we've mentioned a couple times, Relay Connect is where we've stored the 2019 social media online training. And you can find those if you just go to connect.relayforlife.org and search social media. There's a bunch of resources, videos, all kinds of tools that you can consume there. So we have talked and covered a lot of things. We have just a couple minutes for the top of the hour. Are there any other questions? Oh, thank you. southrelay.org instead of southregion.org. That's our fault. Thank you, Marianne. And are there any other questions that that can help you as we before we walk away tonight while we're all here together?
And as for when we talk about the More Facebook, More Funds, promoting that challenge or that fundraising tip requires that you bring more people to the table. So the boosting, the generating some recruitment ads and the boosting should help fill up the pool so that you can get more people who are involved with the More Facebook, More Funds. So it all works together. There's my name and address. Any other questions or comments or things that we can give you to make you successful in this project? Mary Ann, parting thoughts.
Oh, I'm not on mute. I was really looking for the mute button for the first time. No, if y'all have any questions, just let any of us know. I hope everybody takes an opportunity like they suggested and going ahead and getting your ad ready for your first boost and see how it goes, and let us know how it's going so that we can continue to share tips and tricks and such. And then those of you that are the 5 of you that are doing event ads, we'll talk further and get deeper into that as well. But all of you start working on the boosting of the ads.
So I have a question for the group. My plan was to monitor all the successes for all the boosting and share them with you so that you could all celebrate in successes and maybe borrow from each other. But Mike, maybe, well, you tell me, would you rather have a call like this once every couple of weeks so that that you can share ideas back and forth amongst yourselves? You all would be, I mean, we could create the forum, but you would be the ones sharing the information. Is that something of interest to you? We've got Angela. And maybe what we do is we start with the emails and y'all decide we want to talk about it. And I'm okay with that too. Thanks, Caitlin.
I'll just say one quick thing. Sometimes boosting ads, and this is all feels new, and so for those that may be overwhelmed by any of this, the way you just remember to think about this is boosting is taking a post that you already put out there that's performing well and helping get it in front of more people. And ads is a whole separate thing about taking a different kind of message that's targeted, and it's like a marketing commercial, if you will. And so as you think about, oh, what do I need to do this week? And we say timing's important, put out there what we've already challenged you to do and some great social media best practices. Put together a really great, compelling image that would want to recruit people in your community that you would just do. And then as it performs this week, then you can boost it. And then as you move forward and you build a philosophy around boosting, we're challenging you right now about recruitment because we know that's the most important thing to your event right now. Maybe that comes later with a community-wide fundraiser that you're doing and you need to get that out, or you guys are doing a special post for survivor signups or a special post for Luminaria donations. Those can all come later. We're just talking right now conceptually around recruitment because it's that time of season of the relay cycle. So don't let like, oh my goodness, we've got to do all these new things. We're just challenging you to take that normal mix of normal posts that you guys would be doing already on your social media platforms and putting some dollars behind it to push it and make it more successful to get more eyeballs on it.
And we will do whatever we can to help you so we can help you be successful, because if you're successful, we're successful. That said, thank you all for weighing in. Looks like we're going to stick with emails until it escalates.